Welcome, NASCAR fans, to this week's episode of the Highline Podcast. He's, of course, William. I'm, of course, Jason, and we're here to look at last week's race at the Martinsville Speedway, and then also preview the last race of the season, the Championship 4. Phoenix Raceway will be crowned a champion at the end of this race on, William.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting weekend. We got 4 teams going for the Drivers' Championship, and Chase, Elliott, and Logano are past champs, and we got 2 drivers going up for their first ever. Ross Chastain has a lot of momentum, but a guy that has a tad bit more momentum than him has to be Christopher Bell. He's coming off a big-time win in Martinsville. I like Christopher Bell here, and Phoenix is going to be a very, very exciting weekend.
It really is. All right, let's go ahead and jump right on into the action. Let's, of course, look back at Martinsville, the Xfinity 500, where Christopher Bell pulls off another Houdini move. Mr. Clutch is what they're starting to call him. Obviously, what he did at the Charlotte Roval and now backs it up there at Martinsville when his back was up against the wall. And he was one of those drivers in a must-win situation, and he was able to come through. Overall, a general boring race, not a lot of great passing. As always, you kind of got to get on the guy's bumper, but wasn't quite the great race. We got a fantastic finish, but overall wasn't a great race, was it, William?
I wasn't too big of a fan of how NASCAR kind of handled going back to Martinsville, knowing that the spring was a total disaster. I felt they didn't give enough effort and to possibly try to solve things out and make it a tad bit better. And I believe NASCAR failed right there. They have failed us so many times this year, and this was another fail. A terrible race, but luckily we did have a late caution at the end. And that late caution stirred up some stuff. Chase Briscoe stayed out on old set of tires where everyone else pitted. Cole Custer defended like a lion for about 20 laps. And that's when the 6 car and the 20 car got up there and passed Briscoe, and Bell never looked back and won the race. But we all assumed Bell got the 3rd spot. But who got the 4th spot? And the 4th spot was determined on the final corner of the final lap. Ross Chastain pulled a video game move. He was probably going around at least 70 miles an hour faster than the other drivers in the corner, because they were probably going about 50. He was
120.
Going at least at 120, 130. He was going very quick. That car, chassis, frame, you name it, it's all messed up.
It's all messed up.
It'll never be used again, but who cares? They're in the Championship 4 with a chance to win it all in the 2nd year in team history.
Yeah, it's Bell is getting overshadowed there by Ross Chastain. I feel a little gutted a little bit for Bell because he, rose up in another big spot, and he does deserve a little spotlight, but Ross Chastain, rightfully so, is getting everything. Before we talk about Ross Chastain, I want to maybe bring in some little controversy and shed a little light on here, maybe have a little fun with this. Your boy Briscoe and Custer were the 2 that stayed out. We know how Custer got in trouble a couple weeks back at the Roval there for helping Briscoe. Do we think he stayed out to help him and maybe make it harder for people to pass? So maybe because Briscoe, he got caught with 5 or 6-ish laps ago. Maybe Custer stayed out to kind of help his teammate again. And obviously he's not going to get in trouble this time, but I bet he stayed out just to help Briscoe to make it that much harder to get around to Custer and then to get around to Briscoe. What do you think? I'm making obviously too much of this and trying to have some fun, or do you think maybe that was kind of happening?
I think it's a little give and take because Briscoe is his teammate, has to win the race to go to the Championship 4, has to defend like a lion. But you can also look at it from another point of view that Cole Custer is not guaranteed a seat for next year at all. And he's racing for his future, and he has to go out and show that he can win races. So it's a little bit of both sides. I can see where both sides of the argument are coming from, but I'm leaning towards helping out Briscoe, but I can very well see him going for his own path.
I think so, yeah. I think helping out Briscoe. But, yeah, I mean, a guy that may not and he had a great race all day. He was in that top 10, top 5 all day, so it's not like that was kind of fluky. He had a great run at Martinsville.
Yes, but also, fans, stay tuned for the 41 car. That announcement should be out by December, so we got a little bit of a month or so until we hear more about it, but things aren't looking good for Custer. I'll say that.
Yeah, I hear that. All right, let's talk about Ross Chastain, that video game move. First, let's talk about that restart. There was an opportunity for Hamlin to go ahead and not even let it come down to the video game move. They were on the restart. They were on their bumper. Hamlin could have backed up his big game talk of, hey, just watch out. When there's an opportunity, I'll pay him back. He did not do that right there. Well, also, there was about 2 or 3 laps where they were banging side by side as Hamlin was trying to get around Chastain. Another opportunity for him to maybe do something, and he didn't do a damn thing. So Here was an opportunity for him to back up his strong words, and he didn't do it. And then obviously, Chastain then pulls off that video game move, which is now, that's gotten over 100 million views across the different social media platforms. 100 million. I know I probably account for 1,000 of those goddamn views. I can't get enough of what he did. I was absolutely incredible.
You're exactly right. I'm up there with you because I cannot get enough of it. That's the coolest move in NASCAR history. That's going to be a move right there that us fans will be talking for years to come, because this was nothing we never seen in the past. We've seen drivers attempt it, but never really work out well. And Chastain, I got to give the man props. He put it all out there. He didn't leave nothing back on the track. He gave it his all, and that's all you can ask for as an owner, as a team. Like Justin Marks, he took a big gamble bringing him in, knowing that he's going to need a lot of sponsorship to keep Chastain going. And he took the gamble, and it's working out really well with Chastain in his first year with the team, but the team's second year in existence in the Cup Series. So it's a very big deal for that whole organization. And this would not be happening unless they didn't have the next-gen car, because the next-gen car is making it even playing field. So there you go. That's one of the only positives, in my opinion, about this whole thing.
Yeah, and it was a great move, because you've probably seen the video by now that NASCAR tweeted, where it's the in-car camera, and then with the radio communication, whether it's driver, crew chief, driver, spotter, you got the 22, you got the 9, I think I heard the 45, the 43 was in there as well. Of course, the 11 of Hamlin was in there, and then of course Chastain as well. But just listen to those drivers. Oh, even Briscoe was even in there, the 14.
Yeah.
Listen to those drivers' reactions in the moment as they're seeing it, and they're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Like, that's how it's super cool with how those guys are reacting live.
Yeah, and I'll say this also: Chastain could have made the Final Four without doing nothing. Even though he would have finished the race about 3 points behind, Keselowski was DNF because he failed post-race inspection for not meeting the weight.
Right.
Hamlin never finished behind Keselowski in the stage points. Chastain did, and those have been the points he needed to make the Final Four. So at the end of the day, he didn't really have to do that. At first, Hamlin would have made a Final Four for about 30 minutes or to an hour, and after that, Chastain would have made it right in. That's how important stage racing is. You got to get the points.
Yeah, I hear that. All right, 2 more things I want to talk about this. First of all, Kyle Larson, I lost some respect for you, man. You want to come out and say that was a bad look for NASCAR, or you want to call it embarrassing when you dang pulled the same move off in Darlington, obviously not as successful as you couldn't get past Denny Hamlin, but you literally did that move, and now a year later you want to call it embarrassing, call it a bad look on NASCAR. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, you literally did the exact same thing at Darlington last season in the playoffs in the first race, so hated that. Other thing that I want to ask you is, what do we think about rule changes for next season? We know nothing's going to get changed before Phoenix, but next season, if there's no rule change, why not have a guy do this on a short track, or maybe like a Richmond, a 3/4 of a mile? Like, why not, right? If it's no rule change, you're not breaking the rules, you're within the rules. Like, why not try it to get a win, gain spots, whatever? They almost, if NASCAR doesn't want to do it, they're going to have to put in a rule change, because presented the opportunity next season, why not go ahead and pull it off or try it? You know what I mean?
It's a little give and take, because NASCAR, they're wanting to have good, exciting races, but they're also wanting, in a way, to keep their drivers safe. And it really doesn't support my cause, because in the past I've been mentioning how the next-gen car is a big disaster, but they at least give a little bit of a care towards the driver's safety. And at the short tracks, there are no tunnels that go from the outside in, so the only way haulers get into the track like Martinsville and Bristol is a gate, and it's the wall. And if Chastain would have hit the wall at the wrong angle, that could have been a very bad wreck, because he would have shot back in to the track, driver's side cars would be coming right at him. That could have been a bad look for Chastain. And I'm a big believer that he was lucky for it to even work out, but even more lucky for him not to turn around and get hit on the driver's side, cars coming at him at 100 miles an hour. NASCAR's going to have to make a decision here. It may be for only short tracks only, because you can't go to Homestead and say, oh, you can't ride the wall and hit it and gain a spot. Right. I believe they're going to do some monitoring.
Yeah.
If it does look like it's kind of on purpose, They may do something, but if it's just like a car dumps you up in the track and you ride the wall, they ain't going to do nothing at all.
Yeah, you
I
can't.
think it's going to
Can't.
be a judgmental decision moving forward, but it can be very controversial when you talk about the other people.
What a great movie. I loved in that video that I mentioned where you get the in-car camera of the drivers. I loved how Chastain's talking to his crew chief, and he's like, yeah, you need to go get it. And you can almost hear Chastain in his head go, all right, F it. Bang! He steps on the gas and just guns it around the track. What a move, Chastain. Absolutely love that. All right, let's flip it over now to that championship race coming up this weekend down in Phoenix, where, of course, there is 4 drivers. And it's really just, we might as well just talk about the 4 drivers, and maybe you can mention a winner if you don't think one of those 4 drivers has. But traditionally speaking, one of the 4 drivers does win. It's, of course, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, and Christopher Bell. I don't think you can obviously count out Christopher Bell. If you look at maybe pedigree here, Logano a champion, Elliott a champion. Logano likes Phoenix. Elliott was strong here back in the spring. He was 2nd and 3rd in the 2 stages when he finished 11th. Ross Chastain finished 2nd. Bell finished 26th, so he's the one that you maybe think is maybe going to finish in the worst. But then you add in his Mr. Clutch. Whoa, I'm not sure that maybe he will finish 4th amongst these 4 drivers. What are some of your thoughts before we break down the order of these 4 finishers?
What's going to be very interesting is that we have 2 title fights going on. The Drivers' Championship going on, but also the Owners' Championship. And the only driver that's different in both races is that Larson's in the Owners and Elliott's not, but Elliott's in the driver and Larson's not. That's the only thing that's going on. And I believe that's where we'll see Kyle Larson be out there very quick this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree right there. All right, so Logano, obviously tons of experience. His last 7 at Phoenix, he's got 1 win, 3 top 5s. 6 of his last 7 here at Phoenix have been in the top 10. He's got the best driver rating here at Phoenix since 2019 with 112.3 points, and that's best by 4 points. Really look for Logano. Chastain, when we get to our predictions, maybe I predict Chastain to win it or not, but I last week predicted Chastain to be the champion. I've been banging the table for him and Trackhouse Racing for a fair amount of these Highline podcast episodes. So if at the end, if I say Chastain, I'm just not hopping on the bandwagon of his super move. I said last week when you weren't here, William, that Chastain would be the 2022 champion. So Elliott, what do you think about him? He's been disastrous in this round of 8. I'm not too high. Before we get to our predictions, I'm not liking Elliott this weekend.
I'm going to try not to give it away. I'm not a big fan of Elliott. If it wasn't for stage racing, he would not be here at all.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
And he had a huge cushion. Had a huge cushion, obviously.
If it wasn't for that, he would not be here at all. It will be probably, who was closest, William Byron or Ryan Blaney. One of the 2 drivers, not Chase Elliott.
Okay. All right, before we get to our predictions, you're on the last lap of Phoenix. One of these 4 drivers is obviously not leading the race, or don't have to lead the race, you just got to lead amongst these 4 drivers. Do one of these guys pull off the video game move this weekend?
No, I don't see that happening. I think we'll see a long green flag run at the end. Long run pace is going to be very crucial.
Okay, so nobody's going to pull it off. All right, let's get to who we both think is going to finish 4th. You want to go first?
Chase Elliott, without a doubt, having a terrible postseason. Not a big fan. P4.
I'm Chase Elliott as well. All right, I'll go first then for P3. And again, we're not saying Chase Elliott's going to finish 4th. We're just talking amongst these 4 drivers. How are they going to finish? We both got Chase Elliott finish 4th. 3rd, I'm going Bell.
All right, I'm going to go Christopher Bell also.
You're going Bell. All right, who do you got P2 then?
All right, P2, I have Ross Chastain.
Okay, I'm going different. I'm right. I said Ross Chastain last week, and I'm sticking with it. Obviously, the guy has a lot of fight. You know he's going to put everything on the line. His team has been excellent in the pits. They do great at gaining spots in the pits. I've got Logano P2, and I've got Chastain being the champion. Loved it. Finished 2nd here at Phoenix. Was strong. I liked it. He had the best finish this past spring amongst these 4 drivers. I think he's just going to carry that momentum right on. He's had one hell of a week, and look for him to finish it off.
You can't go to a race, though, counting out Logano. Logano is that driver that can go out there any given weekend and dominate and win and go to victory lane. I like Logano. I like his chances. I believe he will be the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Okay, all right, so we agreed on 3 and 4, and we differ there on the top 2. Is Logano going to win the race? I don't have Chastain winning the race. Do you have Logano winning the race?
Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I didn't write down a winner. I wrote down Chastain not winning, But I do kind of like I do kind of like Kyle Larson, but I didn't really think about who
Kyle
was actually
Larson,
going to win.
if he wins a race, he will win the owner's title, and that's a couple $1 million right there, more than second and third, fourth place. So that's going to be very big for their organization moving forward.
All right, Brian agrees with differs on 3 and 4. Kyle, you got any predictions you want to throw up? You got any predictions there, Kyle? We got Brian coming in with Logano. He's matching William. What about Kyle? You got a prediction there, Kyle? Wonder what Kyle thinks. Kyle's been I love his comments on our videos. Wondering what maybe he thinks. All right, Brian though, he's rolling with Logano. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And again, these guys don't have to win the race. They just got to finish best amongst these 4. So, all right, Championship Sunday down at the Phoenix Raceway. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us all season long here on the Highline Podcast. We'll, of course, be back each and every single race next season. We'll come back and preview all 36 races. So, William, enjoy this race. Good luck to Logano for you. And have a good offseason. Look forward to getting you back in here next year.
All right, man.
See ya.